Hello and welcome to my session of this virtual event, Dynamics Con 2020. Just hoping you're having a lot of fun. I mean, the series of sessions going on. I am having a blast. I hope you're having a blast. Well, I'm sure you're tired of all the talking. Well, I'll try to make my session very interactive. Less talking, more action. So what? You know what? Let's just get right into it. So awesome. Let's get started here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick introduction of myself. So my name is Samuel Adranyi. I am currently based in Accra, Ghana. Fun fact. I actually used to live in Beaverton, Oregon. Yes, way Pacific Northwest. So I'm a recent Microsoft MVP on the Azure category. I'm also an MCT. I'm an Oracle certified professional. I am a recent Humans of IT ambassador and a Hackster ambassador. Another fun fact, so I actually submitted a project into the UNDP COVID Detect and Protect Challenge, and my submission was actually one of the top 10 across the world. So interesting thing. Well, most of you who know me, who follow me, would know that I'm a crazy IoT person. I like it. I like cloud stuff. So in today's episode or today's session, I am going to make sure that I give you a lot of that information. So quick stuff about myself. I'm a senior software engineer at Andela. I'm an IoT AI cloud solutions architect. I'm also a community lead right here in Accra, Ghana. Myself and a friend of mine, we actually organize and host the Accra.net user group and then Accra Power Platform user group. Also, I stream 3 times in a week. Yes, 3 times in a week. I was supposed to have a stream today, but I was just prepping for this event. So on Tuesdays, I stream on IoT. On Fridays, I do a Demystify Tech where I generally talk about technology stuff on the Microsoft ecosystem. And then on Sundays, I do the Power series where I host the Power Addict MVPs and a lot of people, interesting people, we talk about the Power Platform. So you can see where all this is, coming together. I also have a podcast that I stream every week. It's called the Control Escape, which seeks to, talk about the journey of people. Well, you can see my social media handles down there. So if at any point after this session you want to get in touch, please do reach out. I'll always love to have a session with you. So in today's session, in my session, I'm going to be talking about interfacing IoT with Power Platform. Yeah, sounds crazy, right? If you've been following me, you realize that anywhere there's IoT and there's any, connectivity and all that, I love that. So let's get right into it. So in today's agenda, we're going to be quickly talking about a short history of IoT, and then I'll tell you, a little story, and then look at some applications of IoT, and then we'll look at Azure IoT, why, and then we're going to delve into the IoT Hub, which is what we're going to be using specifically for today's session. All right, so now let's get right into it. So the first question you want to ask yourself, this is kind of like a quick history on IoT. So IoT basically is just a network of internet connected objects. I'm using the keyword object here because there could be anything in a current situation we find ourselves. There could be wearables, there could be clothes, there could be smart microwaves, smart fridges, smart cars, and all that. Now, so that's why I classify them as internet connected objects that are able to collect, first of all, exchange and act on what data, in most cases without human interaction. Yes, so that is how I classify IoT to be. Now a little down memory lane. Now for those of you who didn't know and think that IoT has just been here for us in just recent times, well, you are wrong. Let me tell you, my friends. So the picture you're seeing here is actually the very first IoT vending machine. Yes, this was in 1982. It was a Coca-Cola vending machine, and it was just able to report inventory and also was able to tell whether the drinks were cold or hot. So as you can see, all the way back from 1982. Now, there are a lot of advancement in hardware, advancement in software and technology that is making IoT become very dominant and the next big thing for us in in the ecosystem or industrialization. So let's briefly look at part of IoT. I mean, that whole ecosystem. So first of all, you have now a lot of devices connecting. You have pretty much like even, humans connecting, from anywhere using any, businesses are connecting. There's a lot of multiple networks that allow for that happening. And the cool thing is that because they are interconnected, they are accessible anytime, mostly let's say 24 hours, all year round, so to speak. Now, so where does IoT fit? in the industrialization ecosystem? Well, as you know, we are in industrialization 4.0. And if you look closely from automation to big data to cloud computing to autonomous systems, IoT and data management is the next thing. So which means that as we are right now in the industrialization revolution, IoT is going to play a really, really, really big role. So if you're thinking about it, this is a time to get into it. If you don't know anything about it, well, start looking into it because it's going to pay off. Now, let's quickly delve into applications of IoT really quick. All right, I'm going to talk about some really, really quick ones. Now, we can talk about consumer IoT. All right. Now, and in a space of consumer IoT, you're looking at, things like connected vehicles, home automation, wearables, connected health, elderly care application, a lot of things. Now, this is becoming a very rapid growing, industry like Fitbits, and even recently with, Elon Musk's, Neuralink. Think about that. How we can even interface that, with stuff. So it's becoming very, predominant in our very everyday consumer life. All right. We can also talk about commercial IoT. Now here we're looking into things like medical, healthcare, Internet of Medical Things. You're looking at transportation. You're looking at vehicle to pretty much anything communication. We're also looking into like building and home automation. All right. Then the third one, we can actually talk about industrial, right? Industrial applications of IoT. So here you're talking about industrial IoT, you're talking about manufacturing, you're talking about agriculture, all right? All these things are use cases. And then the final one, we can talk about infrastructure. All right. So under infrastructure, you're looking at energy management, metropolitan, skill development, environmental monitoring, a whole lot of, use cases, security, notification, home assistance. All these things are practical use cases of IoT, all right, in our everyday lives. Now, so and enough about the quick blab about what IoT is and all that. Now, let's bring it closer to what we're going to talk about today. So why am I going to be talking about Azure IoT and IoT Hub and all the ecosystem and connecting it to Power Platforms? Well, this is the reason why. Now, so first of all, Azure IoT is free for everyone. All right, that's one of the reasons why I like it. Now, this is because now Azure IoT is built on decades of Microsoft enterprise experience, right? So think about all the security, think about all the great stuff, you got it covered for you. Now, you also have the solid backing of Microsoft, right? Because Microsoft is investing, over 5 billion US dollars, right, in IoT research and making sure that, we have, capable systems and secure systems, intelligent edges that we can use to deploy large-scale IoT, from the smallest deployment to the largest deployment, all right? So it means that no matter your industry, no matter your size, no matter your organization, whether you're working with a partner on your own, Azure IoT has got you covered, all right? Now, it's flexible, it's an intelligent cloud, and it's trusted based on, decades of Microsoft experience, all right? Now, so let's look at some of the IoT services that Azure has, right? That we're going to be talking about, in today's session. But I'm going to highlight on one, which is kind of like the bedrock or the core fabric behind all the services. So we can talk about Azure IoT Hub, which allows you to connect, monitor, right, billions of IoT devices. We can talk about IoT Central, which allows you to have accelerated IoT creation of solutions. You can have the Azure IoT Edge, which is like extending cloud intelligence to the edge for analytics on edge devices. You can talk about the Azure IoT Solutions Accelerators, which is like a pre-built solution that you can pick and modify to make changes on. Then we can talk about Azure Sphere, which is one of the, secure MCUs currently on the market, right? We can also talk about Azure Digital Twins that allows you to create digital modules of your physical assets and control them. We're going to see a bit of this in my demo today. Then we can talk about the Azure Time Series inside that allows you to explore sensor data that is coming from all your devices, all right? Then we can talk about Azure Maps, that allows you to get single, accurate, map locations with waypoints and all that. Then the Azure Real Time, OS, which is backed by Microsoft, decades of experience into it to give your IoT solution some real-time possibilities. All right. Now, let's talk about Azure IoT Hub. Now, Azure IoT Hub is going to be the bedrock of the whole show today. So I need you to pay, particular attention about it. I'll be leaving resources, so you can connect to me in the Q&A session when I'm done, and then I'll point you to resources that you can use. So let's get right into it. So Azure IoT Hub enables highly secure and reliable communications, right, between your IoT applications and devices. And I'm going to show you real life demo of how it works, right? The IoT Hub provides you a cloud hosted solution, right? Like a backend that allows you to connect your devices virtually to it. It also extends your solution from the cloud to the edge with with per device authentication. There's built-in device management, it's scalable, there's secured, all the good things you can think about. Now, most of the IoT services on Microsoft Azure is powered by the IoT Hub. So IoT Hub is kind of like the back communication platform that allows you to connect all your devices. So in today's session, I'll be showing you something cool. Well, if you've seen it before, well, I'm taking it to the next level. So I'm just going to keep you in suspense until we get to that point. So let's take a look at some of the features of Azure IoT Hub, and then we can delve into it. So it's security enhanced communication channel, for sending and receiving data. So it's secured. It has end-to-end data encryption that allows you to send secure data from your devices, to the cloud. Then also we can talk about the built-in management and provisioning to connect and manage your IoT devices. So it has this capability that allows you to connect your devices, massive of them, whichever number it is, at scale, and then configure them and connect them and manage them, right? We can also talk about the full integration with Event Grid. So you can be getting sensor data from all your IoT devices, running it through Event Grid, and then working on them and doing some other processing, all right? Computing, serverless, connecting it to other Azure services. That's also easily done. Then it is very compatible with Azure IoT Edge for building your hybrid IoT applications. All right. Now, so this is kind of like a very, very high level of all that Azure IoT Hub, what IoT is, and all that. You know what? I think I've done enough of the talking. All right. Let's get our hands dirty. All right. Let's just get right into it. Let me take you to my bench and show you the setup of what we're going to use. Now, if what you're seeing right now is a setup that we're going to be making use of. Here we have a fan, all right? Now, caution, risk of electric shock. Now, this fan here is actually a 222 volt powered fan. So be careful when you're dealing with it. Wear your protective stuff. If you're not comfortable with it, just don't get close to it. So you've been warned. In other words, just have fun and be safe. Now, so we have here this fan. And what we have here is DHT11 temperature and humidity sensor. We've got here a Raspberry Pi 3B, model 3B, which is connected, all right? And then we have here a relay. I didn't really need all this, 8-channel relay. I just needed one channel. And I explained the philosophy, the process, what's happening here. Now, because this fan is not smart, all right, I needed a way to turn it on and off. And the only way to do that was to power it through the relay, right? So that when the Raspberry Pi closes the circuit for the relay, it can allow, current to flow through it, and this is going to run. All right. Now, if I close the circuit on the relay using the Raspberry Pi, it closes the circuit and blocks, current from running, and the fan cannot start. All right. Now, so what is this whole scenario here? You can see there's a gas sensor here, there's an accelerometer here, I have an LED here, and then the sensor itself, and then the fan. Now think about this as an industrial solution. All right, this could be your, let's say you are into home automation. All right, you've deployed some smart air conditioners or deployed some smart sensors remotely to your client's place, and you want to be monitoring the the environment and then acting accordingly. Now, so in this situation, in this example, this temperature and humidity sensor is actually sending data to an IoT hub, all right, through the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi is reading the sensor, connecting it, and then sending this information to the IoT hub. Now, we're getting the data from the IoT hub and we're acting upon it and doing stuff. Now, we can now use the connectivity from the IoT hub to control and monitor the systems that is going on. So let's say if there was something fun, let's say in this case, if the temperature in the room was too hot, we could actually trigger this fan to turn on. All right. Another thing we could do would have been, let's say if this was an air conditioner, a smart one, we could send signals to it to either adjust the temperature to meet the the current room humidity and other stuff. Maybe if you had some motorized blinds as well, we could also connect it. So I'm going to quickly show you a quick demo of how this works, and then I'll walk you through the process. Very, very simple. I'll walk you through the entire process from the code that is deployed onto the Raspberry Pi, onto how it connects into the Azure IoT Hub. I'm going to show you that, and I'll show you bits or pieces of how it communicates. Then the interesting part of where Power Apps comes in. All right. Now, you can see the frustrations in doing this if you are not, a pro dev, and you can see how easy it is. I'll share you an app that I created to control it. Very simple, and we'll walk through the various Power Platform services that we use to create it. All right. So let's quickly get here. And if you're not familiar with this, I'm using Visual Studio Code. It actually allows me to remotely connect to the Raspberry Pi that you've seen. It's on the same network. So let's go ahead and connect to it. So now what you're seeing now is me actually connected to the Raspberry Pi that is on my workbench right now. All right. And it is running a very simple Node application. It's running a very simple Node application. Now, IoT Hub provides you with an SDK, with a Node SDK, with a Python SDK, with a .NET SDK, so you can actually build your own solutions, all right? Allows you to build your integrated solution. We'll walk through the code after I show you the demo. So here, I'm going to go ahead and run the application, and I'll explain to you what's happening. So let me bring this here. So as you can see, right now, our application on the Raspberry Pi is sending this telemetry to Azure IoT Hub. As you can see, it's detecting that currently the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius, and then it's actually sending that information to the to the IoT Hub. All right. Now, to prove that this is going into the IoT Hub, right? We can open the IoT Hub and check it out. But let me introduce you to a simple tool that allows you to connect to it. All right. So let's go here. Let's quickly open IoT Hub. Now, so this here is this is my Azure portal. So let's go to IoT Tuesday. So this is our IoT Hub here. This is where I provisioned, all right? This is where I provisioned this Raspberry Pi. So currently, if I go here, let me actually zoom in just to make this a bit bigger so you can see this. Awesome. So if I go to IoT devices from here, now you should see that it's loading the devices. I have gone ahead to pre-connect the Raspberry Pi. So there you go. So we have our Raspberry Pi here. It's connected securely. I won't share the keys. Now, the areas I want you to take keen note of, right? Let me bring in my Zoom it so I can actually zoom in for you to see the areas of interest. All right. So at the top here, these are the areas I want you to pay particular attention to. All right. So you remember that when I was talking about the features of the IoT Hub, we talked about device twins. All right. So this device twin allows us to create a digital representation of this Raspberry Pi, all right, in the cloud. And that allows us to communicate and view the state between the digital clone and then this physical device, all right? So that is one. Then the message to device, we can actually use the same portal, all right, to send messages to the device and and have the device respond to them. Now, the cool one that we're going to be leveraging in today's demo is the direct method invocation. Now, what that means is that it allows us to send direct commands to our Raspberry Pi or in any ways IoT device and allow the IoT device to respond, to that command. And that is what I'll be using. Now, up until now, you realize that I had to go into my Azure portal, all right? Or there is actually a new tool. It's been around for a while. It's called the Azure IoT Explorer. Now, so what I have done is that if you look closely, if you look at what you're seeing here and what you're seeing on the Azure portal, it's very similar. All right. Now, so Microsoft has gone through the pain in creating this tool, and this looks like a pro dev stuff, right? We are not pro dev people. We just want to have fun and create our power apps and have fun and do stuff. But I'm going to illustrate how this works, and then we're going to go into the code really briefly. Then I'll take you to the power apps that I created to interface and do the same thing. All right. So let's quickly get in there. Let's make sure that our code is running. Yeah, it's running. We'll leave it that way. Now, so we've already connected to that particular IoT Hub. Now, if you look at the direct method invocation, which I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, there is actually a method that is on the Raspberry Pi called toggle fun. Now, so I'm going to call this, and to do this, let me split just so you can see this carefully. So as soon as I send the payload of turning it to on, now, do you see what's happening? The fan immediately started running. All right, the fan started running. Now, if I went ahead and then changed this and turned it off again and invoked it, almost immediately, and look at it, look at it, it's really fast. From here to the cloud, back to the device, really, 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 really fast. Now, there's also a light, an LED there that I can toggle to turn on and off as well. So this is how I can do it within the IoT Explorer. All right, enough for the day. I don't need this IoT Explorer. Let's just close it. All right, now let's come back here. Let's come back to the Azure portal. Now, at this point, I don't really need to use IoT Hub again, but I'm going to walk you through the process of how this is happening. So quickly, let's go back to our resource group. There's actually a function that is doing all the magic for us. So let's go ahead and open our functions. There we go. Where is our IoT Tuesday? There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yep. And then let's open the functions and see what we have here. Well, but before we talk, we get more into the functions. I'm now going to walk you through this. Let's quickly look at the code base, all right? And then maybe understand quickly how that's working, and then we'll come back to the application because we're trying to do this no code. So I'm just trying to show you this part. So ideally, this part would have been handled by your development team, connecting the devices and all that, and then you would come in to want to build that. All right, cool. So this is the simple node application that is running. As you can see, we're using the Azure IoT device message, the Azure IoT device MQTT. We're using libraries like GPIO that allows us to use Node to communicate and get access to the Raspberry Pi GPIO pins. So as you can see, the fan relay is on pin 17 and the LED is on 18, all right? So pretty much very standard stuff. We're using this library to read the pin, to turn it on and off. But these are the things, these are the functions, all right? The command that when you invoke, right, from the IoT Hub actually controls the relay, cause it to turn it on and off, right? And then here we have, how do you call it? Just a bunch of functions that are reading the sensor data, okay? Now I'm going to run this again for the sake of those watching, and then I'm going to do something. So I have with me here a heat gun, and I'm going to do a split. So if you are watching, let's actually, let me go full screen here so you can see it's sending data. Now I have the heat gun running here, and I'm going to put it on the sensor for a while. And then watch how the temperature changes from 20, 21. As you can see, 43 is going up. 60, that's enough. So what's happening is that it's anytime it detects a change in the temperature, it's recording this and then it's sending this. All right. Now, enough of all this, all this coding and all that. All right. We don't want to stress ourselves with it. So let's go back. Let's go back to our dash. Let's go back here to our dashboard. Now, I know that I can do this in IoT Hub. I know that I can get all these things going. All right, quickly. Now, how then do I go ahead and interface it with the Power Platform? Now, this is where all the cool stuff comes in. Now, so I'm going to open an app which I built. So let's open the app. It's a Power Fan. I'm going to edit it. Now, so this was just a basic. I just wanted a way. I'm not a pro dev, right? Someone who's not a pro dev. So I was like, well, I just wanted a way to build a simple, very nice UI and then connect it to it. Now, remember, we're using IoT Hub that has SDKs that allows us in the back end, all right, to send commands to the IoT Hub, and it's also send a command back to the our devices. So let's see. So here, this is the app I created. As you can see, the first screen was a splash, just an image, bunch of images, and a button. All right. And if you look at this, very simple. This just moves to the next page. So let's go to the main page itself. This is how the main page looks like. And this is just basic power. This is an image, another image. I'm using the ID from here. And then I created a component. So I created a component that recorded the temperature, component that recorded the humidity, and then the current wattage, and then this component that actually allowed me to toggle the fan on and off. Remember that function we said we can invoke on the IoT, the Raspberry Pi? Yep, they're coming into play here. So what I'm doing here is that I can actually click on this, and let's expand this and look at this carefully. Now, I am setting the toggle. Actually, I have a variable called fan command, and I am using this toggle to set it on and off. All right. Now, when that happens, do you see here that there's an object here called toggle fan? Well, yes, if you guess right, yep, you're correct. This is connecting to a power automate flow. So here again, power apps, power automate. Power apps, power automate, the two power platforms. All right. So think about this use case. So all I'm doing is that I am saying that anytime I toggle this button, take that command, which is on or off, pass it to that power automate flow. That is going to send that information through Azure, all right, through an Azure function to the IoT Hub. That is all it's about. So basically, all that's happening is that it's taking the content from here, the command, passing it through the Power Automate, and then the Power Automate is calling an Azure function, and that function is sending it to the IoT Hub. And I'm going to open that. I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. So again, we need to go out there. Let's reload this. And then let's connect. Let's make sure that we have the application running on our Raspberry Pi. Awesome. Takes a while. I hope you're enjoying the session. Please feel free to hold on to your Q&As when I'm done. In the Q&A session, you can ask me the questions, and I'll be very glad to answer it. And I'll be also honored to do a detailed, demo or another session, asking a different stream some other time. But if you really want to know how I did this, I actually did this on my channel, on my IoT shows channel. So just subscribe, and you can see how I set it up from beginning to end. It's easy for you to do. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. So now, with the application running, let's give it a sec. It's going to run on. There we go. What's happening? Okay, yeah, it happened somewhere in the socket. So I'm just going to run this again. All right, there we go. So now the application is running, right? We can minimize this, and then I'm going to run this. Let me bring in the split screen so you can see what's happening. So right now, nothing is happening. The fan is off. So keep your fingers crossed. Now, one thing I want you to take note of, look at the color of the fan and the color of the light. It's in grayscale. But the moment I toggle it from here, boop, we can see the matching ant at the top moving. And once that is sent, once this is passed on, now check that out. Now, the first time we did it, the function had to warm up. That's why it took a bit of a time. And now, as you can see, the fan status here says is what? On, right? Let's go ahead and turn the light on as well. Now, I've turned the light on, and if you look closely, there is a yellow light here that is on. And you can also realize that the bulb just illuminated. If I click this, that turns it off. And if I turn this off, and almost immediately the fan goes off. And what an interesting and cool way just to use power apps, all right, connected to Power Automate to control your IoT devices. So as you can see, I've turned it on again, turn it off, turn it off, turn it back on. Just having fun, with it. So this is very cool. So you can create a power app, interface it with the Azure IoT Hub to control your IoT devices. So imagine this could be any IoT setup. It could be a home automation system. It could be a smart fridge. It could be a smart, air conditioner. It could be even a vehicle. It could be anything. It could be a fleet of vehicles. All right. You can create this in Power Apps, interface it with this, and you're done. Now I have another interesting demo where I used where are my flick buttons? Yeah, where I used flick buttons to actually automate my BA request. It's the same thing, and that also goes through a Power App. All right. So this is where I'm going to close the curtain, but I'm going to take you to I'm going to walk you through. I have a couple of minutes more to go just to make way for the Q&A. I'm trying to keep it to 45 minutes. So I'm going to go and show you. Let's turn this off for now. So turn this off and turn this off. So let's go here and let me show you the power up. So let's look at the flow. Very simple. We're going to open the flow that is actually controlling. So when you toggle the button, the flow that actually does the work. I want us to take a look at it quickly here. So let's look at the toggle fan. So let's edit. And as you can see, very simple. It receives the command, all right? It receives a command from Power Apps, and then it simply just does an HTTP, request. So this is it. This is the name, all right, of the Azure function that is actually handling that. So the command is passed to this Azure function, and this Azure function takes this command and then calls the IoT Hub, all right? And then once the response comes, that's it. It's passed the flow. So the same thing for the light. So if you have any devices, you probably create a couple of this. So it's a combination of Power Apps, all right? Power Automate. Now think about this. I could use the same thing to get the data and publish it to Power BI. That's one. Now I could even take it a step further and create a port, a Power Virtual Agent, all right? That even allows me to send an on and off command right from within the Power Virtual Agent. So I think I'll probably do that in one of my other streams and share on my blog post. So keep watching that. Let's go quickly look at, I have 2 minutes left. So let's go quickly look at the, where's that? Let's go quickly look at our function. So I'm going to go to the resource groups. Actually, let's see. Let's open this up. Let me just go here. Let me go to the home. Yeah, and then Power GH. And I just open the function that works on the fan for us to see. So let's go to functions right here. And this is a very toggle fan on fan. It's a very basic node-based function, right? Very, 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 very simple. All right. So let's look at the code. Very simple. So as you can see, again, I'm using the IoT Hub, all right, SDK, Node SDK, setting the device name, the device ID, and then pretty much what I'm doing is I'm just getting, anytime there's a payload, all I do is I invoke the method and pass it to it. Now, all this code, I think I have it on my GitHub repo. So if you're interested, let me know in the Q&A session. I'll make the code, the GitHub repo is a public repo, so I can make it available for you to go check out the code base. So with that said, that is how easy and simple it is to create. I think I want to go back here, put in a split. This is how easy and simple it is to create a Power App which talks to a Power Automate flow that controls your IoT setup from anywhere in the world. Thank you very much, and I'll be on the Q&A. I'll be on for the Q&A right after this to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, just bring them in. I'll try as much as possible to answer them. If you like this and want to see something specific or something extra, just also send me a message, and then I'll be very honored and glad to help you do that. With that, keep enjoying the rest of DynamicsCon, and make sure that you share, you learn a lot, and reach out to us. We're here to help. Continue to enjoy, and then hey, see you in the Q&A. Thank you.